Good morning. It is Sunday, September 29th at just around 6:15 in the morning. My name is Larry Cedar. I'm back with you for another session on scanning, spelled Sqanning, made up word. References the actual word scanning, as in scanning our bodies for muscular tension. That's all we're doing because, by definition, my definition, scanning is the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. That's what we're trying to achieve: physical, mental, and emotional calm. Find a place of peace, nothingness, stillness, silence. So I'm doing these sessions live now. I have been reposting them, but I think from this point forward, I'm just going to do them live. If you happen to be as crazy as I am and get up like 5 in the morning and like to do these things then I will see you then. Sometimes I may do them later, but generally speaking, I'll do them very early. And if you are interested in past sessions, you can go to the Sqanning Facebook page, Sqanning. Just do a search. You'll find previous sessions there. Also the Sqanning YouTube page. So there's plenty there for reference, but these will be live sessions. Okay. So years ago, I read a book called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment by Thaddeus Golas, Golas. And in this book, Thaddeus most brilliantly describe the universe, the world, as divided into two forces. The forces of contraction, squeeze your hands together tight, that's what contraction feels like, and expansion, release. Those two forces. Everything in the universe can be described as either being in a state of contraction or expansion, or alternating between the two. Our bodies are a contraction, the bringing together of cells, organs, thoughts, ideas, ego, identity. All these things have been brought together to form who we are. That's a contraction. That's a great thing. Contraction is great. It's the stuff of life. When we die, we will expand and move to a place of dust, atoms, and then reassemble somewhere else, something else, recontract. So again, everything in the universe is expanding and contracting. We are constantly expanding and contracting. We move along a continuum of contraction and expansion. We move back and forth. So if you accept that premise, and I do, and you're welcome to as well, you will begin to note that in your life, you yourself are either in a more contracted or expanded state. Again, we vacillate between these two. A balanced life consists of a life in which there is equal amounts of both, centered, balanced. Where we get into trouble is where we become overly contracted, and that's when we feel bad. We feel restricted. We feel obsessed with thoughts. We feel physically racked with pain. We feel confused. We feel resistant. If you are a contracted being and you come up against another contracted being, you what? Slam against each other. There's no meeting of the minds. There's just conflict. When you expand, you become permeable, open, available, and you can merge with the universe more easily. So life is less difficult. You find a way of more readily maneuvering through life, because you are permeable. It's like water flows over a brick wall because it just finds a way around. A brick wall hits another brick wall. So that's the basic premise. And this made so much sense to me, and I began to look at it and think, well, how can I bring myself into a more expanded state? How do we bring ourselves into a more expanded state? And we seek expansion because we always say, I need a break. I want to go on vacation. I need a drink. I need to smoke a joint. We feel it when we're contracted. We feel bad. And we seek ways to expand, to find peace. There's a million ways to do that. What I wanted was a technique that I could do myself, anywhere, anytime, that was very simple. Simple to learn, simple to practice. It could be applied for the rest of my life without having to read a single book on the subject, attend a lecture on the subject, study it, memorize it, pay anyone to have it taught to me, anything. And that's where I came up with scanning. Because what I discovered is the muscles are the perfect metaphor for this expansion-contraction theory. Muscles can either do one of two things: contract, make a fist, or expand, release. That's all muscles do. They either contract or expand. And the brilliant thing about muscles is they can't do both at the same time. So when you are contracted, you are not expanding. When you're expanding, you are not contracted. So I discovered that if I could move my muscles through relaxation into a state of expansion, I could stop contracting. And I discovered the easiest way to do that was the incremental release of muscular tension. And that's as simple as this. Squeeze your hands together, 3, 2, 1, release. You've just released muscular tension. So I began to practice this. And I found that if I worked incrementally, in other words, not demanding that I have a total, complete release of muscular tension, incrementally I could move the dial away from contraction and gradually persuade my body, my very physical being, to let go. When my body let go, my mind followed. Because if you think of the mind as a muscle, just like your hand grabs hold of things, your mind grabs hold of thoughts, ideas, concepts, identity. As you begin to influence your body to let go, one part influences the other until the whole body is on board, and letting go, which influences your mind, which allows you to let go of all those thoughts, they float away, and you are left in a state of clarity, peace, calm, stillness, nothingness. And I noticed I was able to achieve that on a temporary basis by simply releasing muscular tension. That's simple. And I threw away all my self-help books and all my philosophies, and I said, I'm going to devote the rest of my life to this technique and to sharing it with others, because for me, it works. So if this is of interest to you and you think it might work for you, follow along. All I do is release muscular tension and see where it takes me. I have found I don't really feel satisfied unless I practice at least an hour a day, but 2 minutes a day is of value. Any amount of movement towards expansion is a movement away from contraction. So experiment with it. See how it feels. It can be strange and challenging at first, but if you give it a shot and see that it has results for you, then maybe you'll like to pursue it further. So let's get started. I start with the preliminary phase of Sqanning, which is deep breaths and stillness and silence. This just takes a few minutes just to get us started. And you could do this anytime, anywhere, any place, in your car, in your room. No one has to know. All you need to do is say, I'm going to begin expanding, and see where that takes you. If you face resistance, that is perfect, because resistance is a sign that you are contracted. So you found the right place to start. Move through that resistance until eventually your body lets go and accepts what's happening and moves into this expanded state. So let's start with one deep breath, followed by 15 seconds of absolute stillness and silence. Deep breaths are expansive. When you are contracted, you are holding your breath. So it only makes sense that when you breathe deeply or let breath go, you're allowing your diaphragm to move freely, so you have begun to expand. Stillness and silence also expansive. Stillness, because when you are contracting, you are doing, you are active, you're making decisions. Again, not a bad thing. But what we're trying to do is achieve balance by moving ourselves away from the contracted state into a place of stillness and nothingness. And silence, of course, because words are a contraction. Their formation of sounds, letters, ideas to communicate. Also, very necessary and very powerful in life until such point as you become overly contracted and they become a prison. So we're going to take deep breaths. We're going to sit in absolute stillness and absolute silence. This first time through 15 seconds, deep breath followed by 15 seconds of absolute stillness. Don't move a muscle, but continue to breathe. Here we go. Don't move a muscle. This sends a very strong message to your body that you have stopped doing. Deep breath. So we've begun. And that's all you're really doing, is sending signals to your body and your very being that we are changing course. These are all signals. These are all small incremental steps, small incremental guides. It's like when you're riding a horse. If you ride horses and you take the reins and you just pull slightly, and the horse goes, oh, we're moving this way. So that's what you're doing with your body. You're saying, deep breath, stillness, and silence, we're moving this way. We're moving into a more expanded state. And your body will react to this by either saying, nope, don't want to stay contracted, want to keep thinking, want to keep worrying, want to stay tense. That's fine. Or it will go, oh, this could feel good. Let's continue. So let us continue. Deep breath followed by 30 seconds, absolute stillness and silence. You're moving yourself into a place where you are accepting that stillness, silence, nothingness is a valid, legitimate, powerful place to be. We've moved away from contraction. We're moving into expansion. Deep breath, 30 seconds, absolute stillness and silence. Again, absolute stillness sends a message to your body we've stopped doing. but it's very important that you continue to breathe. 30 seconds. Here we go. 30 seconds. Deep breath. Now, at the same time as you are physically bringing yourself into a more expanded state, you're also training yourself, or I should say retraining yourself. You spent most of your life valuing contraction, thinking, doing, accomplishing, worrying, building, writing, speaking. These are what we call constructive activities. So the idea of doing nothing is counterintuitive because you think, I'm not accomplishing anything. I'm quote unquote wasting time. So by practicing this regularly, you begin to retrain yourself to understand that of equal value is nothingness. Of equal value is silence. To sit in stillness and silence, simply breathing, simply being, is of equal value. And you may say, how can that be? You're not selling anything, you're not buying anything, you're not writing anything, you're not saying anything, you're not confirming your identity, you're not telling people how to vote or how to think, you're not writing your paper if you're in college, you're not accomplishing anything, except for the fact that if you accept the premise that we must, to be balanced, have equal amounts of contraction and expansion, you are bringing yourself into balance, which allows you to do and go back to your contractions all the more effectively because you've cleared away the restrictions, all the restraints that come with over-contraction. So you're actually helping yourself do better. By doing nothing, you're actually helping the contracted part of yourself be more free, be more available, be more intelligent, be more decisive. So you're training yourself through practice that silence and stillness is of equal, if not more, value. Because when you come to a place of nothingness, stillness, and silence, you've come back to your self, your true original self, your self before you layered on your identity, your bank account, your political party, your religious beliefs, your name, your relationships. Before any of that, there was just you. So you're coming back to your true self. And when you know who you are, you can face the world with much greater confidence and strength and clarity. Again, it's of equal value. So last time, deep breath followed by this time 60 full seconds of absolute stillness and silence. Don't move a muscle, but continue to breathe. Here we go. 60 seconds. Deep breath. And just note, it's a very important part of scanning is to take note of whatever changes you experience. You may feel more calm, more still, more settled in your seat. Your mind may be more slightly clear, or you may have the opposite reaction. You may be screaming in your mind, what am I doing? What a waste of time. Why am I doing this? I want to stop doing this and go back to my video game. All totally legitimate. Everything you think or feel is legitimate. It's what's going on in you. But what you want to do is take a look at that and see what that represents. If you're resistant to doing nothing, then you may be overly contracted and resistant to letting go. So you might just, as an experiment, just see what happens if you let go and see where that takes you. I've spent most of my life, particularly the early part of my life, looking for answers, and I think we all do. Meditation, yoga, Rolfing, exercise, Judaism, Buddhism. I've just looked into all of these things looking for an answer. And it was when I came across this book, The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, that something went off for me. And I realized that it was the simplicity of the philosophy that appealed to me. Because when you begin to practice scanning, it's always available. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to attend a lecture. You don't need to read a book. You don't need to memorize any mantras, not that there's anything wrong with that. You don't need to do anything but sit in stillness and silence and release muscular tension. The muscles will be your guide. The release of muscles will lead your very being into a more expanded state. And I found that when I did that, I was happier. And that the answers came more readily to me. And although I still face all the same challenges in my life, I found a way to bring myself into balance so that I could face those challenges with greater clarity and calm, with greater peace of mind, with better state of being. And all I had to do was this. 3, 2, 1, release. That's it. You know, things don't have to be complicated. Answers don't have to be complicated. Sometimes they're very simple. So if someone was to say to me, what should I do? And I just said, just take a moment and sit still, take a deep breath and just try to relax. They'd go, no, what do I do? No, you stop doing. Stop. Do nothing. Let go. It's almost too simple. So I recommend you try it. Experiment with it and see how it feels for you. Let's move on to what I call the nuts and bolts of this technique, which is the actual incremental release of muscular tension. What we did just now was a preliminary, as a way to, I guess you could say, warm you up, get you in a slightly more expanded state. But now, we're going to do the actual practice of incremental muscular release. And I will tell you, this can be challenging. The idea, the concept is very simple. You've learned how to do it already. But I spent an hour last night, in the middle of the night, scanning, trying to get myself to release muscular tension. I've spent a lifetime contracting, thinking that that was the way to go. If I'm concerned about something, I worry. I tighten up my body. I prepare. I take my guard up. So if I've spent, let's say I started this 5 years ago, if I've spent a good 50 years of my life contracting as a means to accomplish things or find peace of mind, I've only been doing this for 5 years. So it's difficult to retrain yourself. So I spent an hour last night letting go of muscular tension until at the hour mark, literally, my body went, oh, okay. And it completely let go. And I went, there it is. I made it to the other side. That's what I call it, the other side. This side, contraction, this side, expansion. I made it to the other side, and it was worth the effort. It was worth the journey. It was an hour. An hour. First half hour was complete resistance. My mind saying, just open up your phone, read your email, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just do something, because this is crazy, just sitting here doing nothing. It's driving me out of my mind. I want to go. The first half hour I struggled. Second half hour I began to make some progress. Last 15 minutes I went, oh man, I did it. I let go. And I was at complete peace, complete stillness, silence. My body relaxed. My mind was quiet. I've been doing this 5 years. It took me an hour. So you're up against yourself. That's the challenge of scanning. It's such a simple technique, but all you're doing is wrestling really with yourself. And this is what I did. This is what we do. We release muscular tension. We start with what I call zone 1 of 8 zones of the body. You can divide your body up however you want. But the first zone I always start with is the face, because you can look in the mirror and actually see the change. On my count, release all the muscular tension in your face. 3, 2, 1, and Very important. That feeling, that's scanning. That is scanning. You've just learned it. Incremental release of muscular tension. 3, 2, 1, the face, and that simple adjustment to your state of being has now begun you down the road, taking you down the road towards expansion. Doesn't matter how small, you can't contract and expand at the same time. So once you've expanded, you've stopped contracting. Now you may go back to contracting. Do it again. Incremental. You will do this 50, 100, 200 times and nudge your body, your very being, into a state of expansion through this simple act of muscular release. The face, 3, 2, 1, and release. Feel that? That's scanning. So we're going to continue down that road and we're going to move through the body. And once we've moved through it once, I'll only have time to do it once here. Yes. But when you're practicing on your own, you'll start again. And again, resistance is a sign that you have struck gold. You're up against your own contracted state. Continue to chip away at it. The top of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. You may find, it's David Byrne, is that Byrne? Talking Hits. You may find that you weren't even aware you were holding certain muscles. We tend to walk through our day holding muscular tension in ways that we're not even aware of, just out of self-defense. So when you begin to release muscular tension, you start to go, whoa, I've been walking around like this, holding that I didn't even need to. I'm just sitting here. Why was I holding tension in my head, my face, why? It's just there, always under the surface, holding you, keeping you together. As they say, keep it together. Top of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. There it goes. Now, mind you, I scanned for an hour already last night, and here I am back in the daylight hours, almost daylight, and I've already begun to contract in preparation for my day. So you're constantly moving into a contracted state as a matter of habit. And you're training yourself to move away from that at least maybe an hour a day, half hour, 5 minutes a day, so that you can find that balance. Zone 3, the back of the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. And sometimes that release is strictly a concept. You may not even feel it so much as acknowledge it. The back of my head. 3, 2, 1, and release. I can control that musculature. Even if it was the slightest change from this to this, from this to this, from this to this. Slightest change matters. So again, if you're new to this, it might feel unfamiliar. You may feel like you have no control over your musculature, but just begin to explore it. And start with the muscles that you can release. Make a fist, 3, 2, 1, release. You just did it. The face, 3, 2, 1, release. You just did it. So find areas where you do feel that control, and then begin to explore areas where you don't, and work on those. Zone 3, the back of the head. 1, 2, 3, and release. There it goes. And there's a sort of spreading feeling, like the muscles have been holding and they're just going, ah. You're wrapped in musculature. It's like a cellophane wrap. And all we're doing is letting it go. Now what happens if you've been wrapped up tightly with cellophane or burlap? You'd be restricted. As your muscles begin to let go, you begin to feel free and you can move. It takes less effort to exist. You begin to relax. You're not fighting your very self anymore. You're just being. Zone 4 is the neck. 3, 2, 1, and release. And on the count, you're focusing on that area. Someone says to you, how does your neck feel? Let me think. Focus your energy there. See how it feels. And then see if you can release it. 1%. 3, 2, 1, and release. Take a deep breath. These are very subtle changes. Excuse me. And that's why it can be so frustrating, scanning, because you feel such small changes. And you go, I want results. I want to relax. Why? This isn't relaxing me. This is making me tense because I'm not doing it right or I'm failing. That's your contractive self speaking. Just keep gently moving along. You will begin to move the dial. Patience, persistence. The shoulders, zone 5. 3, 2, 1, let them drop and release. And you'll feel your body shift and move into positions as you let go. You may sink more comfortably into your chair. You may find yourself taking deeper breaths. If you think about it, if you're holding on to someone, you're squeezing them. It's difficult for them to breathe. If you let them go, clear, free to breathe. So you're literally letting go of the grip you have on yourself. And so your body, which has been deprived of oxygen because you've been holding your breath, starts to thank you for the opportunity to now replenish itself with oxygen, and will say, take a breath. And you'll feel that change. Again, you're watching for the changes that occur as you begin to move into a more expanded state. See how it feels. Don't write it down, just make a mental note. You'll remember. Zone 5, the shoulders, let them drop. 3, 2, 1, and release. Subtle, small, incremental changes. Zone 6, the chest, stomach, front of the waist, what I call the plate of armor, the part you hold to protect your very heart. 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. You know, I'm at an age where I'm constantly being told by my doctors to take my blood pressure. So I bought a blood pressure machine, you know. And of course, you want a good score so you can report back to the doctor, I don't need medication, my blood pressure is fine. So what happens, you know the white coat syndrome, when you walk into the doctor's office, they take your blood pressure and it's through the roof because you're nervous about your blood pressure. And then they take it again 2 minutes later and it's lower. So at home, when I take my test, I try to be as relaxed as I can because I don't want a bad report. And what I found is that holding, the holding we do in our life, that's what causes high blood pressure. We've literally put a grip on ourselves. It's harder for the blood to pump through the veins and arteries. It has to work harder. So just like if you squeeze a hose with your hand, the water has to work harder to get out through the hose. So your blood pressure goes up. So if you are a person who's taking his blood pressure now and then, or has had his blood pressure taken now and then, try scanning for a couple minutes before you take your blood pressure. Release that hold, that grip you have on yourself. Let yourself breathe, let the blood flow, and you'll be surprised at how much lower your blood pressure will be, which is, of course, healthier. Zone 7's down the back, past the waist and into the all-important pelvis. I say all-important because we hold a lot of tension there. The pelvis is the region of sexuality and waste elimination, two very sensitive topics. Areas of fear, concern, embarrassment, desire, urges, loss of control is a great fear, ways to deal with those feelings. So we hold a lot of tension there, in a sense, a sort of clenching in that area. So when you release tension in the pelvis, you've gone a long way towards releasing the tension in your entire body, because it's almost like the center of your body. So think about your pelvis and how it feels and what's involved there. And don't be embarrassed, just your body. And try to let go of 1% of the holding the tension in that region, the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, and release. Doesn't matter how much. The slightest change matters. You've moved the dial. You can't contract and expand at the same time. Any expansion moves you away from contraction. You can't make a fist and release a fist at the same time. Any release moves you away from contraction. So try it again. The pelvis. 3, 2, 1, and release. Again. 3, 2, 1, and release. 3, 2, 1, the pelvis, and release. All we need to do for purposes of this exercise is to feel it. If I was with you right now, teaching you, I would say, did you feel that? Did you feel it? Try it again. 3, 2, 1, the pelvis, and release. Did you feel that? Good. Every release counts. It's like pebbles. Every pebble that you add to the pile matters until you've added so many pebbles that you have not just a hill, but a mountain. So it's cumulative. And your body's listening. The body is listening to your instructions. And when you say release, it first goes, why? Wait, no. Then it goes, well, okay. Then you do it again, it goes, well, okay. And you do it again, it goes, oh, okay. Then you do it again, it goes, wow, okay. So every release matters. The incremental release of muscular tension. The last zone, down the legs, past the knees, and into the feet. 3, 2, 1, and release. And the feet. 3, 2, 1, and release. That hesitation is me putting my focus, my energy to my feet. Am I feeling my feet? Are they there? I feel them. I feel them. Now, see if I can let go of tension. 3, 2, 1, and release. And I did. I felt a slight change. Now, if we were to continue this, if you were doing this session on your own, because we're almost at a half an hour, you would start at the top again and move your way through. And then repeat. And again. Again, the discipline of scanning, the challenge of scanning is staying with it. Because it's incremental, it can take a while. But what I say is that you reach the point where suddenly your body goes, I get it, and it just lets go. And if you've experienced that complete release of tension, once you've experienced that and you see what you're capable of achieving on your own, how deeply relaxed you can become, and what that feels like, you are going to want to return to that place again and again and again. It's why I'm addicted to this process, however challenging it may be, because it's given me great relief, great comfort, great stillness, great clarity. Not all the time. I'm as messed up as anybody. But if I can find moments within my day of clarity, stillness, and calm, I can bring my life, myself, into balance. That's all we want. We want to contract as hard as we can. We want to build, do, think, act right as hard as we can. That's what makes us successful. Identify ourselves, present ourselves with strength and definition. But we also want to be able to let go of all of that. Go to a place of nothingness, stillness, silence, emptiness, zero. And rediscover what I call our original self, our true self, what's underneath all of that. And all it is a human being. But to be a human being and to feel what that feels like, to feel what it feels like to take a breath and feel the oxygen course through your body, to feel your heartbeat, to sit in stillness in a room and hear the sounds around you, to experience what it is to be alive. Very powerful. It's what was lacking in my life, and it's what's lacking in a lot of lives, and it's why we become so disturbed. It's why we fear death, because we feel like we're dying and we have no sense of ourself. And so we feel afraid. But when you come to a place of knowing who and what you are at your most basic level, you take great comfort in that knowledge, great strength. Then you return to your crazy, wacky life. So that's it. It's called scanning. Sqanning, again, a made-up word that references the idea of scanning the body for muscular tension. That's all we're doing. It's the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. It's just a wonderful experience that you want to try to bring more and more of into your life, even if it's only for 5, 10 minutes a day, 15, an hour, whatever you can afford. I keep a log as a way to encourage myself to always get the time in. Scanning has pulled me out of a lot of deep, dark, mental, emotional places, because those places are places of contraction. You've closed in on yourself mentally, emotionally. You've contracted and you're stuck. You're locked into those places and it feels desperate, hopeless, and terrifying. Scanning has allowed me, whenever necessary, if I feel, to release that hold, that grip I have on myself, emotionally, mentally, physically, come to a place where I'm free and clear and can more successfully, more effectively negotiate the challenges of my life and give me little islands of peace to give me balance. That's all it is. The simple release of muscular tension can help bring your entire being into that state. So I highly recommend it. And if you ever have any questions, please message me. But aside from that, that's it for today's session. I appreciate your visiting and thinking about it and allowing me to share this with you. Have yourself a great Sunday. See you next time. Take care and bye-bye.